there. But let's come back to our issue of today. We've been looking at the Brexit. A lot of people are starting to now really unpack the issues on the ground. How will the Brexit actually really create interruptions? Also, how will the political dynamics be rearranged when we see Brexit unfolding? Let me bring Jameel Ahmad on the conversation from Forex Time. Jameel, thank you for giving us your time. As I highlighted before the break, London is the hub of a lot of Europe's financial sectors, and it seems like even that particular issue is now being brought to the forefront on how that will actually unfold in terms of how business will be done when Brexit is actually taking place.
Thank you very much for having FXTM once again. So basically it comes down to uncertainty. There's so much uncertainty around Brexit. What's it going to be? The lack of progress with negotiations, and it all comes down to, it really is a mystery right now. As of last week, we were, told that the transition agreement might be extended into 2020, which was something that came as a big surprise. And it doesn't look like either the United Kingdom or the European Union, but most of the United Kingdom, because they're the ones who are trying to negotiate for a better deal, are really ready to leave the European Union right now. So it comes down to uncertainty, and for businesses within London and businesses that have any ties to Europe, they just don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't say it's going to question the legitimacy of London as a global financial centre over the longer term, but over the short term there's going to be reports over potential job losses or potential corporations that are considering moving their locations out of London and maybe into mainland Europe, whether that's going to be Frankfurt or Paris or a different European location, just because it's unsure over what's going to happen with trade, how you promote services from the UK, and that overall uncertainty is just going to weigh on the credibility and the title of London as a financial centre over the short term. But I would think over the medium and longer term, London was a global financial centre since even before the Euro and the European Union came together, and I wouldn't say it's going to mean that much 10 to 15 years from now, or maybe even potentially longer, but over the next couple of years there's going to be a lot of uncertainty which could weigh on growth. It could weigh on global growth as well, and that's why there's a lot of financial volatility, and even with risks such as global trade and the trade tension between the United States and China, now is probably just not the right time for Brexit anyway, but it's got to happen because of the votes.
Jameel, are we seeing any trends, or is it too early to tell on whether we're seeing companies repositioning themselves in other countries outside of the United Kingdom, just because of the fear of the uncertainty that you're talking about?
To be quite honest, it's too early to tell, and Brexit still hasn't happened. The United Kingdom will not leave the European Union until at the earliest March 29, 2019, and that could potentially be extended into 2020 if the latest headlines from last week were anything to go by. We've seen some reports about major corporations considering reshuffling jobs into different locations, but there's nothing really to go by that could say that this is going to happen. The only real market in the UK that has felt the pressure of the Brexit negotiations, you could say, might be the house prices, and the home prices in London have been falling. But apart from that, there's so much uncertainty. There's no real breakthrough in UK and EU negotiations, so nobody can really plan for what's ahead because nobody knows what's going to happen.
Jameel, let me wrap up this conversation with you in terms of your take on the African context in relation to Brexit.
There's certainly an opportunity. There's an opportunity to strengthen trade ties with both the European Union and the United Kingdom, which obviously at a time where let's talk about South Africa first. South Africa being in a recession and probably needing to strengthen its economic ties with both parties wouldn't be a bad idea. The risks are that there's so many uncertainties as well with global trade, the global trade tensions with the United States and China, and how this can impact global growth. We've already had the comments from the IMF 2 weeks ago about global growth potentially plateauing, which means that global growth might have got as good as it gets. So this really highlights the risks that do come with Brexit, global trade tensions, and what impact this could have on everybody. It's not just the United Kingdom and European issue. It's not just the United States and the China issue when it comes to trade. This is something that can impact the global economy, and a weaker global economy can mean weaker global trade, and that's a bad thing for emerging markets, which means there could be downside risks on the African economy as well as a consequence of a lot of uncertainty and then just trade tensions.